Hello everyone, this is the Paper Princess. Welcome to all my new subscribers and old subscribers. I appreciate everyone. A couple days ago I posted my latest project. This is a book by Stamperia and it's called Alchemy and it's really cute. So I hope you enjoyed the walkthrough, and we're getting ready today to start making the base album. So I'm going to set this aside. Also, the cut list is printed under the project share under description. If you want to print that out, I will have all the measurements, but let's get started. I'm going to go over real quick what we need for today. I'm using 8x8 chipboard. This is 90 point chipboard. It's a nice thickness, and it's by Paper Accents, and I got it on Amazon. So since this is an 8x8 album, really the only cut you need to make is for the spine. And I will explain that real quick. But let me just go through some of the other things you may need. We're going to be using bookbinding tape on the edges. Using a thick roll of score tape. I'm using 3/8 inch throughout the book to make the flaps. But it would be helpful so you wouldn't have to use up all your 3/8 inch tape. If you got a nice thick roll, this one's 2.5. You could get 2 inch, 3 inch, anything. It will make your life easier when putting the tape on this chipboard. So we have that. I always like to have some undo on hand. You might need to reposition some of your flaps. And I have a bone folder. I have this pick tool. It's from Creative Memories, and it helps me lift off the tape. But you can use a Cricut tool, or just even your fingernail, just to pick off the tape. And one more thing, we needed a piece of Tyvak or a mailing envelope. So. Okay, so I also have my cutter and the Tyvak. I'm just using a mailing envelope. Any kind of plastic material, it will help your paper not crack on the hinges. So let's get started. For the chipboard, I've got my two 8x8 pieces. For the spine, what you do is you take one of your 8x8 pieces, third one, and you do the bend test, I call it. So if you hold it the way it's going to be going with the book, you want the stiff side being vertical. So if I had it this way, it would be kind of wobbly. I want this way to be where I open the book. So the same thing with the spine. So you take your piece of 8x8, you make sure it's the stiff side, and you measure 3.5 inches. And I use a cutter. It cuts thick, bunches of paper. It's by Carl, and it'll slice right through this. So that is what I use for this. There's other ones out there, but make sure it's facing this way where it's stiff, and cut 3.5 inches, and then you are set to go. All right, so now we need 2 pieces of our cardstock that we're going to use to make the album. I'm using black. It's an 80-pound paper by American Crafts. So for this, let's pull out 2 pieces. Okay. I'm going to set this aside a quick second. Bring out my cutter. And we are going to cut these, let me see, I think it was 11 and 11.25. Yes. So they're already 12 inches on one side, and I'm just going to make it 11.25 because when I laid out the chipboard, there was a bit extra hanging off the edge of one side. So I'm just going to cut it right now. Okay, so 12 by 11.25. You'll need a score runner or score board. Either way, I'm using a runner. I have, let's see. Yeah, this is a blade on one side and just a scorer on the other. So if you have a runner like that, it's handy. So I'm going to score 1/2 inch. Now I'm putting this with the linen side facing down. This is the smooth side facing up. And let's take our 3/8 inch score tape and I'll just run it right under this score line right here. I'm getting pretty close to the edge. Now I just made this. This is out of I just got this on Amazon too. It's just a piece of, you know, Pyrex acrylic block. It's 3 by 3 and it's about 1/4 inch thick. And then I put a telephone pop dot there. So I use that as a scorer. You can use your ruler to rip it, or your fingernail, or a pair of scissors. Either way. But once I have my tape down, I'm going to just press it down and fold this over. And what I'm going to do here, I have my other black piece. I want to make sure I've got the right side. Okay. Make sure these line up. And what you do, scooch everything aside. I am putting these 2 pieces of paper right up against each other. I'm going to peel off the backing here. Okay, now I have my flat side and my flat side. I'm putting this right up to the edge, and the 2 pieces of paper are butting right up against each other, and I can tell that because I don't see a space under here. I don't see any of the table. And I'm just going to press that down, walk myself over to the middle, press that down, go over to the end, press that down. Okay, now I have one long piece of my black cardstock. So now what I'd like to do is I want to make a reference line, a vertical and a horizontal. What I need is a corner piece here, and that will set our front, you know, cover piece there, and from there everything else lines up and it'll be nice and straight. So take a ruler. This ruler is about 2 inches. Tim Holtz has a ruler, it's about the same length. This one is by Victor, and it's got all these 1/8 and 1/16 measurements, so that's why I like it. If you don't have that, I will tell you. If you need to cut something that's, you know, 5 1/8, let's say, I will tell you where that is on your regular ruler or regular score, so no worries about that. Let's just give ourselves a couple inches here. Make myself, let's see, yeah, it is 2 inches. So I've got my vertical line, and now I'm going to go on the bottom. Go right across here. Okay, the main thing we're looking for is this intersection point. So before we lay anything down, you always want to check and make sure you have enough space. I did it ahead of time, but you know, in case you ever want to make a book on your own, this is what you'd have to do. You would lay it out just to make sure not only that you have enough space, but this line here that we reconnected the 2 pieces of paper, you never want it to be in this crease, because that's just not going to work. It has to be in the middle of here, here, or here. Not smack in the middle, but you know, not near the edge. So right now it's right here, and that's fine. Now what I want to do for the spaces here, the rule of thumb is to have 2 pieces of chipboard of whatever thickness you used, and you tape them together, that's going to be how much space you want. So let me show you. I used this, I made a bigger book in the past, but took 2 pieces of the chipboard. This is 90-point chipboard, taped them together, and that's what I'm going to use right here for my spaces. All right, so let's cut our Tyvak, and then we're going to tape everything. So the dry fit was successful, everything fit, so I can just lay this aside for right now and cut a piece of Tyvak. Okay, so basically you want your Tyvak piece, let me see right here, to cover, to be the same height as your spine, and then go a little bit past it, like an inch or 2 past it. So when I did that, I did it for you. It was 8 by 6 is what it wound up being. But basically, if you're making a book on your own, you just want it to be a little bit on either side. So let's cut this 8 by 6. A little bit past so I could cut off this little piece that's not even here. Okay. And it doesn't have to be super exact, but you got a nice piece here that's about 8 by 6. All right, so now it's time to tape everything. Let's bring out all this. So this is where the nice thick roll comes in handy. And let's go ahead and tape everything. Now I'm going to hold it like this so I have some control of the tape. All right, so this is too thick for me to tear. It's going to be all jig-jag. So what I do is I turn it over and just cut with my scissors. Let me find my scissors. Okay. So now what I like to do when I get to this point is I'm going to put my next piece on the bottom. And then I can just fill in this middle one with either my 3/8 or I have a roll that's a 1/4 also. Or you don't really need to cover it because it's got coverage here and there, but I like to cover it. And the reason why I'm not taking the smaller piece to the end, is I think there's more support if I have a nice thick piece at the end. The middle is not as important, so I'm just gonna cover this. All right, and then we take our bone folder and just press all those bubbles out so it'll be nice and sticky. I'm going to set that aside and do the next flap. do the same thing and put my piece here at the bottom. Now this is a little thinner probably because I didn't start quite at the top, so I'm going to use 1/4 inch here. And let's press it all down. This bone folder that I have is a Teflon, so it's real thick, so I can do it like this. If you have one of the plastic kind, you have to kind of go like that. But either way, it does press it out. Get all those bubbles out. Okay, now the spine. I could do in the middle and put 2 side pieces, but I'm just gonna go like this. So a lot of you may have, there's a 1 inch score tape, there's 3/4 inch, 5/8, you know, but I'm just going to take my 3/8 inch here and put a couple of these down. Okay, and now our piece of Tyvak. So that also needs to be taped down. Fine. Okay. All right, so now we're ready to lay everything out. So let's bring back our big long piece of black cardstock. Gonna clean up my area here a little. Okay, so I'm gonna lay this out again, and now for these 8x8 pieces, you want to make sure your stiff side is going to be vertical here. And what I'm trying to figure out now is where to put my Tyvak. So I lay it all out where it's going to go approximately, and I hold this piece right in the middle, right on top of this spine piece here, and I'm just going to make a pencil mark right at the edge. And that's where I'm going to lay this down. So this is the first thing to go down, and then we'll lay down our chipboard. All right, so let's set this aside, and we'll put down our Tyvak piece. This is where this little tool comes in handy. Okay, so now I've got my pencil mark, and I'm going to put it right on this pencil line here, line it up over there. And now we are going to lay down our front and back cover and spine piece. So, once again, since I moved things around, I'm making sure that my stiff side is this way, and I'm going to lay it here. I'm not going to just plop it down like that. I'll show you what I do in a second, but let's just take off the tape and watch what I do if you haven't watched my videos before. I don't know if any of you ever accidentally slipped and misplaced a chipboard, but it's going to be a real problem getting this. There's a lot of sticky tape. So we will do this carefully. Okay, so now remember I said this corner piece right here is the main point that you need that will set the tone for the rest to be all straight. I'm going to put this corner piece over here. And I'm not doing this, I'm gonna do it at an angle like this. So I'm holding this at a 45-degree angle, and that way the only thing that's sticky that's touching right now is just this very edge piece. So I have some flexibility, I can move it around. Now, I've got in the corner here, I'm looking to my left-hand side and I can see my pencil line there, and I can estimate where it's gonna fall on this pencil line. And when you're happy, everything looks good, you're holding it here, and you just gently put it down. Okay, so that looks good, and let's press it down. There is no moving it now. Okay, so now for your spacer, you just take two pieces that you either, you'll have a piece left over from when you cut this spine piece, or if you've made another book and you have two pieces, just tape them together. That's going to be how much space you need right here. So you have that piece ready. I'm going to take my tape off of the spine. Now we're going to do the same thing. And I'm holding this piece right up against this front cover. I've got this at an angle again, and I can look and see that it's lined up with the bottom and the top, and I can see where my pencil line is, and I'm going to hold this piece firmly right here. I'm holding this piece pushed right up against this spacer piece, and then I'm just going to slowly let it go. And there I have a nice space, 2 widths of this same chipboard. So that will allow me to open and close the front cover nice and smooth. All right, so now we're going to do the same thing. And I've got, this is my stiff side, so I'm going to take off this. I'm always checking and double checking that. Take it off on this side. Okay. I'm going to hold my spacer here. I've got this at an angle here, so I can move it if I want. But I'm looking, and it looks lined up. And I'm going to slowly drop it down. And it lands right on this pencil mark. So that looks good. And I will put my spacer away for till the next project. Now voila, we have it's starting to look like a book. So now what you want to do is tape all around the outside and all around the edges of the chipboard. So I'm going to take my 3/8 score tape and just go right across the bottom of our chipboard here. And if you notice a piece of your mailer maybe sticking out a little bit, that's okay. But we cut ours to 8 inches, so it's all good. Okay, now I'm going to run this all across the edges, but I don't need to go to the corners, right to the edges, because we're going to be cutting our corners. So let me just draw the line first. And let's see, I have a mitering tool. This is a 1/8. I think I forgot to tell you this in your gather up supplies, but a lot of you who may have watched my other videos know. If you don't have one of these, I will show you how to do it with just a ruler. But this is a mitering tool. It's by Colorways Arts. You can probably find on Etsy any kind of mitering tool. But what we're looking for is this space right here. It's about 1/8 inch. And I'm going to put it right at the edge here and draw a line. So my tape doesn't need to go all past this line because this is going to be cut off. If you don't have this tool, I will show you real quick what you need. What you're really looking for is this space, and that space is 2 lines on a ruler. So you take a ruler, put it right to the corner here, go 2 lines, and that's your 1/8. 1/8 is always 2 lines. And you draw a little line here, and then you can draw a line. So you don't need that mitering tool, it just helps. And it wasn't expensive at all, it was a couple dollars. Okay. And that is it. I will put this away until my next project. Okay, so now let's tape across the bottom, and I don't need to waste any tape, so I'm just gonna go right around there because I'm cutting that. So I'm gonna go all the way across. Okay, and then you guessed it, we're gonna press this all down, make sure it's nice and sticky, get all these bubbles out. Oh, I felt a big bubble right there. Okay, let's cut our corners. Where did my scissors go? Right here. And let's cut these corners. Now we're going to be folding all these sides up. So let me see real quick. I'm going to just bend the paper a little bit so get it used to being folded over. It'll make our life easier in just a second. Okay. So let's start with the bottom piece. So what I'm going to do, we're going to do our horizontal pieces first. And then watch the video because I will tell you what to do. There's one little step to get these corners nice. So let's start with the bottom, and I'm going to go in the middle to start with. And just, we've got our paper, a nice little crease line there, getting used to being folded, and I'm going to go right in the middle and go from the table up. Just take your hand and go like that. Go right over top of it. Okay, and then press out this. Okay, and let's turn it over and do the top side now. Okay, start in the middle again. Go right up like that. If you get a little wrinkle there, that's not, so that will be covered up. Okay. All right, now for the corners. What we're gonna do, I'll just show you while I have my tape on. If I were to just fold this over, my corner right here would stick out, and I don't want that. I want it to look nice and tucked in and smooth. So what I'm gonna do, let's take off this tape. I'm gonna take my bone folder and just tuck in this piece right here because I don't want that sticking out. So it's just a little bit. It's like when you tuck in a present, and you won't have that little piece sticking out. You just kind of take that and fold it over. Same thing over here. And just take this corner piece and sort of wrap it around this piece of chipboard right there. And when you fold it over, you will see that it's a nice, perfect corner here. There's no little piece sticking out. If you ever don't like the way your corners came out, there's these metal corners you can buy, and I've done that on some of my books just for decoration, and you could put those there with a pincher kind of pliers and just put the corner on. I think Tim Holtz sell them, and you know, if there's ever a mistake here, you don't like it, or you just want an embellishment, you can put these metal corners on. So let's go over here and do the same thing. So I'm going to wrap this around. Just tucking it in a little bit. over. All right. Now take my bone folder and just gently press in these little creases here, not too hard. And get your book used to being bent. Looks good. And then our last step is to take this book binding tape, and mine, I believe I have 2, yeah, it's 2 inches. 1.5 would work, 2. So you go like this. You never start your tape at the top because you'll see this edge. You don't want that. So bring it down a little bit, like a couple inches, at least an inch, let's say, and go like that, and then fold your book over and follow your line right here. Try to get it straight. Doesn't have to be perfect. It will be covered up with our design paper, but you're trying to get it straight somewhat. And you go right up to where your other piece is, and you just cut right there. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing over here. There. Now, just a little bit of a fold right there, and what you'll have is a nice corner edge here to your book. So every time you open and close this, your paper won't crack, and it just looks really professional. So I love the way that came out, and everything will be covered up, and this line here where we connected the 2 papers will be covered up with design paper. So now you have a book, a base album, and now that you know how to do it, you can make a book any size you want. You have total control and total creativity. It doesn't have to be a little 5x7 books like some of the ones that are pre-made. You can make it any size. So I hope you got something out of this video. In my next video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover up this piece, put our pockets down, and make page 1. When we come back in the next video, I will have my hinge already in. I cannot show you on camera how to make a hinge because I don't have the license to do that, but it's out there, and the lady who created this is from Paper Phenomenon, and if you've made any of her books or watched her tutorials, you will learn how to make a hinge. Or there's other people online who have the license and they teach how to make a hinge. So you can get that information very easily online. Just note that for this particular book, you need 3 hinges because there's 3 pocket pages, 6 pages, and I like to do it where there's 3/4 inch hinges sticking up and 3/4 inch space between because these pages get awfully heavy. And I just find that they never come undone if there's 3/4 inches. A lot of the tutorials have 1/2 inch, but make yours 3/4 inch. Your paper, since this is an 8x8 book, the paper that you use to make your hinge needs to be 7 inches because I like a 1/2 inch on the top and bottom. And that is all you need to know for that. Just 7 inch, your hinge will be placed right there. Okay, see you in the next video, and we will get going.